You want me to put that on my Tudor?
Harry's wife. Utter embarrassment. People these days are queuing up, really, to give Harry's wife a metaphorical shoeing, and Prince Harry too. Popularity is at an all-time low. They've been exposed for the whining victims that they are, and she, of course, gains further exposure by virtue of the fact that she's a narcissist and everything that comes with that. Daniela Elsa writes in news.com.au, Prince Harry and Harry's wife $6,700 embarrassment. In March, to celebrate International Women's Day, bandwagoning facade management, Harry's wife, the Duchess of Sussex, turned up in Los Angeles, an apparition in Max Mara and Valentino, to do some good. She had made the 4-hour round trip from her Monty Shit Show home to support Harvest Home, a charity for homeless pregnant women. Making her way out of the hip eatery, vegan Mexican joint Gracias Madra, the chic Duchess was photographed carrying a black and white Chanel calfskin handbag, an item which reportedly costs more than $11,000. Residual benefit, showmanship, triangulation with object. The interesting thing about this was not only is she clearly unafraid of revealing the couple's changed financial circumstances since skittering away from royal life, vanity, showmanship, but the bag's price tag is nearly double that of how much money the Sussex's Archwell Foundation has raised from the public based on the most recent available tax filings. Recently, Archwell's Internal Revenue Service documents became public, throwing light on the finances of the fledgling charity set up in late 2020 by the renegade pair. The documents, as reported by the Daily Mail, show that in 2021, when their star power was at its peak, they raised $13,566 and gave out $3,096,319 in grants to charities. Where things get interesting is when you break down that $19.5 million figure, the vast majority of which came from only 2 very deep-pocketed benefactors. So, Elsa writes, calculators out, workbooks open, and everyone looking at the board, please. The Archwell paperwork shows that nearly $10 million, or roughly 75%, came from one donor, with the Mail reporting that there is speculation that this sum came from Oprah Winfrey in return for the Sussex's explosive 2021 TV interview. Then there was a US $3 million donation from another individual, with the Mail suggesting that that person may have been Prince Harry himself, with him dipping into the reported $30 million advance he got for Spare. But it's one of the smallest numbers that is the most fascinating. Archwell has only raised $4,470 from the public. Now, before any of you caring sorts rush out to start rattling tins on street corners to try to keep Archwell going, it's still very comfortably in the black, with more than $9 million in the bank. But the question that these documents raise is, take away what are very possibly one-off moments of generosity, potentially from a TV icon and a flush-feeling Harry, and how exactly are they going to raise money in the future? So far, Archwell has not attracted any large-scale, direct corporate financial support, nor would it seem that people are queuing up to give them money. My observation is, of course, this is the collateral consequence of the behaviour of this mid-range narcissist, that people have seen through her and decide, I don't want to contribute. All she does is utilise it for her own benefit. Elsa continues, what that means for the Duke and Duchess is that they now face having to throw themselves into the ruck and maul of the American charity world, and will face huge competition in the fight to huck donations from the uber-wealthy. Harry and Harry's wife clearly have an ambitious vision for what they want to achieve with Archewell. Well, they might have an ambitious vision, but with only sticking in an hour a week towards it, they're hardly likely going to achieve it, are they? But all that enthusiasm and pep needs some serious coin behind it to make it a reality. In the coming years, Archewell will have to find serious cash if the charity wants to achieve anywhere near what the Sussexes would seem to hope for. And that is going to require them to get on the fundraising treadmill and start running with a vengeance. What they will be able to do will be limited to and dictated by how much dough they can bring in. And that is going to mean that Harry and Harry's wife need to devote a hell of a lot of time to cozying up to every capitalist, hedge funder, billion-dollar trust fund holder, and hoodie-wearing crypto bro out there. Which is to say that the Sussexes have a lot of dignified begging, sucking up, glad-handing, picture-posing and eating dry chicken breasts at charity dinners ahead of them. Interjecting for a moment, that's not something that Harry's wife wants to do. Her level of arrogance and sense of entitlement is that she somehow believes that those Benjamins should just take up a centrifugal orbit around her, that people should just donate because it's her. Once again, her laziness is exposed, that she doesn't believe that she's the one that has to suck up to people, and of course her narcissism finds such a notion offensive. What? Her? Go and beg people for money? No, that's not how it works. The mountain must come to Muhammad. She must come and allow them to donate to her. She's the important one. The money should just be flowing to her. But as we've seen, it doesn't. And there's no guarantee either that even if she were minded to engage in such behaviour of the dignified begging, sucking up, glad-handing, picture-posing and eating dried chicken breasts at charity dinners, that it would meet with any success, given the fact that her stock is so low. Thus, these ambitions have two significant problems. One, she doesn't think she should do it, and two, even if somehow she started to do it, it's unlikely to meet with success because of who she is. Elsa continues, not only that, but they face seriously stiff competition, and it will only be an uphill battle to keep the millions they need rolling in. There are more than 1.5 million charities in the United States, and more celebrities would seem to have their very own one than not. And the amounts they pull in and give away, we're going to need to add some zeros up here on the blackboard. Beyoncé has Bay Good, which provided nearly $9 million in the first months of the pandemic in 2020 alone to help with mental health support and community organisations. Around the same time, Leonardo DiCaprio helped spearhead America's Food Fund, started on GoFundMe no less, and soon raised $18 million thanks to Laureen Powell, Jobs, Apple and the Ford Foundation. The Clooney Foundation for Justice has given away millions, including a nearly 1.5 million donation by George in 2017 to help bring war criminals in Africa to justice. And the Jolie Pitt Foundation raised $61.6 million over 10 years, largely through the sale of their baby and wedding photographs. The absolute godfather of the celebrity charity world is Sir Elton John, whose eponymous AIDS Foundation started at the height of the pandemic in the 1980s and has raised more than $760 million and reportedly saved more than 5 million lives. No wonder the man has so many royal titles. Harry and Harry's wife will have to, in the years to come, when the Archewell bank accounts start to dwindle, thanks to their good works, go up against these and about a gazillion other non-profits set up by every star, Oscar winner and corporate titan who wants to do a spot of giving back. Of course, bear in mind that many of the activities of these individuals isn't driven by emotional empathy, but is driven by the pursuit of their own prime aims. They're just better at it. Now, the Sussexes do have an ace up their sleeves, the cachet of their royal status. Oh, whoops. In the year since 2021, however, their star has clearly dimmed in the United States, where they have become deeply polarising figures, making this job of utilisation of their royal status all that much harder. Then there is the fact that trading's one proximity to the crowd for charity cash is fraught with peril. Look no further than Harry's father, King Charles, who over the last couple of years has been revealed to have made some appalling decisions in the name of fundraising. The Times said Charles reportedly accepted $4.9 million in charitable donations made in cash stuffed into bags from a Qatari politician, along with more than $1.8 million from one of Osama bin Laden's 40-plus siblings. If any of this had happened at a time when there was not a surfeit of other royal drama, this would have and should have been a much bigger and more controversial deal. Of course, hardly surprising, with Charles also being a narcissist to make such poor judgment. After all, the effect of the receipt of the cash far outweighs any moral scruples that he would have. Another possible avenue for Harry and Harry's wife is the big end of town. However, so far there are no signs that any corporations have been rushing to give them money, which is rather interesting, given the fact that, as we've seen just recently, certain corporations have been making complete arses of themselves with regard to the partnerships that they've had with some of the woke brigade. However, it may be that the Apples of the world have offered, and for some inexplicable reason they said no. Also in 2021, Archwell signed a multi-year partnership with Procter & Gamble, residual benefits, hijacking other people's generosity, which saw pallets of nappies donated to women's charity Harvest Home. Keep in mind in all of this that the Sussex's personal earning potential is far from guaranteed in the years to come, with the Duchess having no confirmed projects at the moment, with Harry only having his Invictus doco ticking along. They may not be facing penury, but they may very well be about to become acquainted with the slog you and I know all too well in terms of having to work, which is to say they themselves seem unlikely to be able to personally bankroll Archwell. And they won't do so. They only work there an hour a week. They're not that interested in it. The bottom line, in every sense, Harry and Harry's wife have not only a rough and steep road in front of them in terms of keeping their careers chugging along, dealing with his seemingly pissed-off family and fighting the approximately 37 lawsuits Harry has filed, but they'll also need to keep Archwell flush. Now, that I think about it, maybe it's time to get those tins out. Does anybody know whatever happened to the Wilderness Society's manky-matted koala costumes? Though if they ever get really desperate, they can always ask Charles for his Qatari mate's number. Thus, utter embarrassment at their failure to draw money in from other celebrities, from the public, and from the corporate side of town, and is demonstrative of the way that Harry's wife's behaviour has impacted upon the way that people see her. But of course, it's never going to be her fault. I'm H.G. Tudor. Thank you for listening.